Hello, Carol. I can see you.
Hello, everyone. Give us a minute and
Let me see who put that.
okay. So if everyone can please mute yourself, put yourself on mute.
Yeah.
We're hearing some background. Okay. Now. Okay, so we have. Great. Well, I'd like to welcome everyone to our Board of Education candidate forum tonight. My name is Carol Gear with the League of Women Voters. I just want to thank our candidates in advance for participating. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule. And I'd also like to thank Tom Keyes and our Chamber of Commerce for co-hosting this forum with us. Thanks everyone for tuning in. This is also, I just want to confirm so everyone knows, this is a forum, not a debate. So, you know, the candidates, Tom will go over our format for this evening. Before we begin, I just want to go over a couple of ways of how we're using Zoom this afternoon. Except for the moderator and our candidates, everyone should be muted and not on video. So please turn off your videos and mute yourself so we can see the candidates. Also, if you look in the top right-hand corner of your Zoom screen, you can set the setting to speaker view, and then the candidates will show up. But we really just want our candidates and Tom. And then our timer is Ralph Hall, league member, and he will be timing our candidates this evening. Also, the chat feature is disabled. So I have just actually, I will go in and make sure and disable that. But so our chat feature will be disabled. There is a link for questions in our chat, so you can submit them via Google link, okay? This forum is also being recorded, and we'll have it available on League of Women Voters Carteret County website, lwv.carteretcounty.org by tomorrow. Just a reminder, Thursday, October 15th begins early voting, and this goes through Saturday, October 31st. Polls will be open from 8 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Saturday, October 31st, they will be open from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And Tuesday, November 3rd is general election day. Polls will be open at 6:30 and are open until 7:30 p.m. And candidates have met our timer. They will have 2 minutes and then 2 minutes for questions. Tom will go into that. So now I'd like to introduce our moderator this evening, Tom Keyes, our president of our Chamber of Commerce. Tom's been president for the past 4 years. Prior to that, he was also executive director of the Morehead City Revitalization Association. And we just like to give Tom a warm welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tom Keyes, and I'd like to begin by introducing our candidates. I'll introduce them in alphabetical order. As I introduce you, if you want to say hi, that gives you a chance to be on screen for a second. And then what we'll do is we'll have up to 2 minutes for opening remarks, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So I'd like to introduce the candidates in alphabetical order. Lucy Bond, Dennis Goodwin, Jennifer Johnson,
Hi.
and Katie Sallin.
Not yet. No.
To begin, each candidate will have up to 2 minutes for opening remarks. By the way, just so you know, Dennis Goodwin doesn't look like that in real life. Dennis is much better looking than a red square. He's just having a few tech issues tonight. To begin with, each candidate will have up to 2 minutes for opening remarks. After they will respond to written questions from the audience, which I have quite a few at this point. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to respond to each question. I will ask them in a random pattern, not always alphabetically. Then each candidate will have 2 minutes of closing remarks at the end. This will be in reverse order. All candidate remarks will be timed to ensure equal opportunity for everyone. Our timekeeper is Ralph Hall. He's a member of the league. Candidates, he will have a timer up on his screen that will let you know when your time is over. Please stop promptly when your time is up. Let's now begin with 2-minute introductions from each candidate, starting with Mrs. Bond. Lucy, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Thanks. Good evening. I'm Lucy Marino Bond, and I am running for Carteret County School Board, District 3. Thank you all for being here tonight. I am a native of Carteret County. I was born and raised in Morehead City. I worked in my family's restaurant every summer and graduated from West Carteret High School. I went off to college, and that's where I began my journey as a lifelong educator. After earning a master's degree in child development, I worked with at-risk children through agencies such as social services and mental health. I also worked for Head Start as a curriculum coordinator. I was an elementary school teacher for 30 years and earned my national board certification. Later, I worked with GED students at the community college. I also volunteer in many different ways throughout Carteret County. As a teacher, a mother, and a grandmother to 2 little girls, I am invested in the future of public schools. I ardently support the section in our North Carolina Constitution, which states that all children have a right to a sound basic education, no matter who they are or where they come from. COVID has disrupted education for now, and though our schools have been working extremely hard to keep our students engaged, there will be a lot of catching up placed on the shoulders of our teachers. But you know, we look to the future and continue to invest long-term in our children. So I will support safe and healthy schools that are not overcrowded, free and nutritious meals, student services to develop the whole child, remediation programs, special needs and ESL students, reliable internet. So I support diversity in our school leadership and school choice, such as the Mast High School. Carteret County, I always support the arts also. Carteret County schools are some of the very best in North Carolina. We know that, but we still have to work to do to make some equitable opportunities to make sure that they're offered for everyone. And that would be my goal if I'm elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis Goodwin, you've got 2 minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am Dennis Goodwin, a native of Morehead City, like Lucy, a graduate of West Carteret. Was gone from here for 39 years and came back, which I was always going to do. I've been a United Methodist pastor for 44 years, serving all over Eastern North Carolina, and I'm a retired Army chaplain colonel, and I served there 33 years. That makes me about 110 if you count up. My wife is a retired high school English teacher. When we were in Wayne County, I would get a lecture every night about Wayne County schools because she'd spent the first 20 years in Nash County. I said, I know enough to run for the school board, and that was about 20 years ago. Then when I came home and retired, I've been in service all my life to help people, to help communities. We've built schools. I've been president of a chamber. I've been very active wherever I live, and my life is one of service. I'm involved and still help some young people, help their parents. I contribute to their 529, and I just have a heart for this county. This is home. I want it to be the best it can be. I want our young people to have the best opportunity that they can have. And I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Ms. Johnson, would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, good evening. Thank you for having me. Jennifer Johnson, running for Board of Education, Newport District 2. I was actually born in Carteret County. My parents divorced when I was younger, so we moved back to Massachusetts. So I went to school in Massachusetts and spent my summers in Emerald Isle with my dad and my extended family. So it was kind of the best of both worlds. I attended the University of Connecticut and received my bachelor's in science in human development and family studies. I went on to be a social worker. I've lived in Alaska with my husband, who was a park ranger. We lived in California, Asheville, and about 10 years ago, we decided to move back here when we started a family. I have 3 school-age children, a 4th grader, a 2nd grader, and a kindergartner that attend Boguestown Elementary. So I will be highly invested in the school system for at least the next 13 years until my littlest is graduated. I'm a member of several organizations in the community, although not working as a social worker currently. I try to volunteer when I have time. I'm a member of the NAACP, a board member for Carteret Partnership for Children, which is an agency near and dear to my heart. I volunteer with Carteret Long-Term Recovery Assistance. I also am a member of the Carteret County Democratic Women. I'm the vice president of my kids' PTO and have always worked with children my entire career. They are my passion. I'm a strong advocate for them. I was a developmental disability coordinator for children advocating for their rights under an IEP and a 504. So education and children are my passion. I'm hoping that being on the board, I can help shore up some inequalities we have in our county. Although our schools are wonderful, I certainly think we have some areas we can work on, and I'm hoping to be part of the board and do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie Statler, can you tell us about yourself?
Yes, I'm Katie Statler. I was born and raised in Carteret County and attended White Oak, Broad Creek, and then graduated from Croatan. After high school, I attended East Carolina University, where I majored in family and community services and child development. I then moved back to Newport, where I am now married and have 3 kids that are also kindergarten, 2nd, and 4th grade. Jennifer and I are on the same page there. Since Owen, my oldest, entered kindergarten, I knew that his teachers were the biggest influence in his education, but then I would be. So I became really involved then, and I've been PTO vice president for his first year, and then just finished my 3rd year as PTO president and have served 3 years on the parent advisory board. Through the parent advisory board, I was the parent advisory rep to the Board of Education for the last 3 years. So I've had the opportunity to present to them about Newport Elementary, but then all the schools, and report to them stuff that parents had seen or teachers that they felt was needed in the schools. About 2 years ago, I decided that if the opportunity arose, I would love to run for the board to represent Newport with a voice a little louder than what they've had, and began studying policies, procedures, and legislation in order to be prepared. Hopefully my experience working in nonprofits and grant writing, I'm hoping to be able to bring some money to the county that wouldn't come out of our pocket specifically. School safety is a huge concern of mine, being proactive and not reactive. Kids can't learn if they don't feel safe. And most importantly, that all of 8,000 kids across the county, no matter where they're at, are receiving equitable education.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll start asking some questions, and Katie Statler, we're going to start with you since you were at the end of that introduction. What would be your top 3 priorities to address as a board member in the coming year?
My top one would be school safety. Like I said, these kids can't learn if they're not loved, fed, and safe. And until we meet those basic needs, then there's no point in even trying to work on curriculum. And school safety is something some schools are severely lacking depending on where they are in the county. We've got schools that need just doors and windows replaced to bring them up to code, or schools that need walkways enclosed and outdoor exterior building doors locked so that they can't be entered in. So that would be one of my top concerns. My second concern would probably be Mass College. I think it's been a highlight for a few years, so most people have heard about it. And I think the lack of transparency that the board currently has right now would be a third concern. I think a lot of even with something, for example, COVID, there's a lot of plans in place if a student has COVID or a teacher has COVID, but none of that's been shown to parents and even teachers. I've reached out and had teachers reach out to me and say, we don't know what would happen, or parents, what would happen if a child has COVID in our class? And I think these plans are in place, but there's a lack of transparency behind that and other decisions the board has made.
Thank you. Jennifer Johnson.
My three would be, number one, I think is certainly a concern for our school is our lack of teachers of color. I think we need to address with the school superintendent and the admin why our numbers have continued to decrease with our teachers of color, and that we need to actively recruit them and hire them so that every child can feel representative and feel like someone looks like them and they can inspire to be that person. I also very much agree with Katie that safety, and especially in the age of COVID right now, I personally got a call from school today that we have a case at my child's school, a positive COVID case, but they can't tell you. I have 3 children, but they can't tell us what class it is or what student it is. So it's kind of just you hope it's not yours. So I certainly think that it's a new age and everyone's kind of just playing it day by day, but we need to ensure that our children are safe, and we do need to have some transparency in how we let them know that, because waiting by the phone for a call from the health department is very nerve-wracking when you have 3 small children. I also believe, again, that MASS is a very important program to our community. It benefits our students and our community, and I'm very confused about why the board is so against it. I think we need to open up the freshman class and let those students in. It offers wonderful opportunity for students who wouldn't necessarily get those college classes, first year college students, first generation college students, to have that opportunity. And I really think that it's a benefit to the students and the community to have that. And we need to continue forward with that and continue funding that program.
Thank you. Mr. Goodwin, same question.
I met with Mr. Paler several months ago, and I asked the same question. And I left there with, and this is my interpretation, that number one is the mental, emotional health of our students and staff. These are especially, and this was before COVID, and it's been exacerbated by this coronavirus. It's hard for a person to learn when their life is in such turmoil, when they're not supported, when their mental and emotional health is so fragile. This is not one you can measure easily. And unfortunately, it does receive attention, but maybe it can always receive more. Second, I'd agree with safety. They've always got to feel safe before they ever enter the school grounds, while they're on the school grounds. Our staff, our teachers, and administration have got to feel safe. And third would be vision. Education, like every other institution in America, is challenged today. And what worked a long time ago may not work. Seth Godin once said, he's a visionary, that we're still educating our young people to work in factories. I don't entirely agree with that, but education has to adapt to today, and it will challenge all of us. And I'd like to be a part of leading that vision. Thank you.
Thank you. Lucy Bond, same question. Lucy, you're on mute.
I believe that right now, health and safety are the most, it's the most important thing. I think that as a teacher, I remember with my students, I would say to them when we talked about rules and all the things that we had to do, that safety was first. I had to make sure you were safe first. And of course, in this case, health is a very big thing. And I applaud the schools for all that they are doing. And I hope that that will continue, and I'm sure it will. I believe also all of the things that have been said are so important. I do believe that remediation is going to be a very big thing. Our schools are doing the best they can to plan. Our teachers are teaching remotely, and they're teaching face-to-face. They're doing a combination. They have a lot going on right now. And I think that my daughter-in-law is a teacher in Durham County, and I can just see the frustration that she has because she is working so hard, and the students are having a very hard time getting used to this new way of learning. I also think that student services are tremendously important for, we have to develop the whole child, emotional health, your social and behavioral and academic health. All those things are important. So we need our professionals there to make sure that those children are taken care of.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the next question. One of the questions that have occurred a number of times since we've been planning this has involved COVID-19. I'd like to know what your thoughts are about schools reopening in this time of pandemic. Can we send our kids to school safely, keep our staff safe, and what should guide us? I'm going to start with Mr. Goodwin.
Well, the CDC has given us guidance. The governor has given us guidance. And we've all said that the safety of our students is of utmost importance. But we know that in-class instruction is the best instruction. So we're in a quandary. So how do we do this and keep our students safe? All the things that are said that we all can read, we have to do. Cleanliness is critical. Teaching our students, guiding them is critical. But we also have to be willing, if we have what is felt, there's too many cases in a school, we've got to have the courage to shut it down, to keep our kids safe. That's more important than meeting our hope of in-class instruction. This is going to be extremely challenging. We've never been here before. And we've got to rely on medical personnel. We've got to ask questions and keep asking questions. We've got to be diligent. Thank you.
Thank you. Lucy Bond.
We're at a place where, the worries over health and safety because of COVID intersect with concerns over children's academic progress. But I do think that if we follow the guidelines of our health professionals and make sure that funding is provided so that our students will have and our teachers will have the best protection that they can, that's important. I know that they will do mask wearing and disinfecting services and washing hands. I'm sure that that will take place. Physical distancing will be difficult. And it seems that they've done a good job with the small groups, and they can quarantine and, send children home and that sort of thing. So that is my biggest worry, is the physical distancing. I listened to the governor to hear what he had to say, and Dr. Mandy Cohen. I listened to Ms. Cannon at the health department, and they all seem to feel that, we can, if our district feels that it's safe, we should go forward. So I will go with that too.
Thank you. Katie Statler.
I think we should listen to the CDC healthcare professionals' facts. I don't think this is or should be a political decision that's being made for our kids. The most important thing with going back, like I said before, is transparency in the plans that are in place and the what ifs that parents feel ready. I think we have to keep a virtual option in place. We do have families that don't feel comfortable sending their kids back, and we have to respect that and respect their decision and still provide equitable education for them, which our teachers have moved mountains since March, since they went virtual. So they're continuing to revamp their virtual and improve, and I'm blown away by what they've done in such a short amount of time, but continuing to tweak that virtual option for those families that don't feel safe. I think it's essential we go back. We already have a huge achievement gap. And unfortunately, the biggest gaps are between our white students and then the African American and the Hispanic populations. And unfortunately, with COVID, those are also the two groups that are being hit the hardest and are having the worst outcomes. So we have to work twice as hard to ensure that that achievement gap's not growing, and especially if they choose to remain virtual.
Thank you. Jennifer Johnson?
Thank you. I have two students who are in the cohort, or three students who are in cohort A, so they attend 2 days a week. They have 3 days virtual. I was actually hoping that we could continue with that. I understand that being in the classroom is absolutely the best option, and our teachers have been amazing, but I do have concerns coming up on a flu season and the lack of social distancing, that we're now packing possibly 22 students now in a class, which will be very difficult. We certainly won't be 6 feet apart. I'm not sure if we can be 3 feet apart. I really have concerns over that. And I'm also concerned that we may have too many clusters and then have to all be virtual anyway. I just would have felt more comfortable maybe waiting till we finished out another 9 weeks just to see where our numbers are at. Like I said, we had a positive case today at our school. And that seems to be the regular, at least once a week, we're having them at some schools. So I do believe that we absolutely have to keep the virtual option open for families who, for their students or for other family members, simply feel that it's not safe for them to go back, or some of our special needs students who it's certainly not safe. We need to continue to offer as many services as we can. And like Lucy said, that with the remediation, to ensure that we can get our students back up to where they need to be. Because not everyone can stay home with their children. I'm very lucky that I'm given that opportunity, that I can literally school my children every day, but a lot of parents don't have that option. And we need to be cognizant of that and really understand the health and safety of our children is absolutely the most important thing.
Okay,